Hello, I'm Kristen and I am a police wife of 9 years and I'm so excited to get started in this video today. I was going to film a different video in my new Police Wife Struggles series I started, but I got this comment and question from an Instagram follower today and I just felt the need to address it before moving forward in this series because I think it's so important to talk about. So she said, I wonder if your husband knows just how tough it is for you as a police wife, and he's constantly thanking you. Like, I'm feeling a lot of, in quotes, unreciprocated understanding and love, end quote, theme in Dating a Cop. So in my Dating a Cop series that I just posted, I will link that below. This is what she's getting out of it. And I was like, oh no, I don't want that. You know, I never want to pretend like I'm doing everything in my marriage and Rick isn't doing anything. We have been married 9 years and we have 2 kids. And I want to give that context because I do think that this person who made this comment is still in the dating phase, doesn't have children as far as I know, and honestly has shared with me that she's not fully in a relationship yet. They're just kind of like dating here and there, this person, this cop and her. And I think over time, priorities change. So I remember before having kids, before marriage, just in the dating phase, like I was really worried about time with me, like Rick having time with me and us having time together and going on dates and like just think about myself, right? That's fine. That's natural and totally normal. I think, I changed a lot after becoming a mom, and your priorities change over time, just as you get older, right? And you have different things in your life. But I do want to share that although I do not count like tit for tat, like what does Rick do for me and what do I do for him? I do not do that. There might have been a time where I got lost in that. And I think that is right after we had Maverick, my first son, because I had just moved to LA. There was so much newness to our lives and just had this baby, didn't have a lot of family around to help. And I didn't have a lot of friends and I was like really overwhelmed. He was working gang unit, a ton of overtime. And I did get lost in that. Like I'm doing everything, like I'm taking care of the baby all alone all the time. And I would say things to him like, you're never home, and it was not helpful. But what's interesting is that our whole relationship, Rick has always really supported my career. Like when we were engaged, I was living in Hawaii, starting my professor career, and he never told me not to. He was never like, I need you to move here and be with me. However, he did want me to move here. I won't say he did want me to move here, but he didn't like tell me not to go there and do my job and like start my career out. I feel like he wanted me here because that was the best long-term for us, because he had already established a career here that came with benefits. So that's something that a lot of times like we don't really talk about. I feel like in this kind of life is that although there's a lot of challenges that come with being a police spouse, we also can see that, of course, today they're doing yard work outside, so I'm gonna probably pause this if they come by, and then I will restart it in a second. Okay, so now that the yard guy is gone, thank you so much, yard workers. I was trying to think, okay, I was talking about how, like during that time, I was kind of lost in it, but then once I kind of got out of that funk of like being resentful and thinking of all the things I'm doing on all the things he's not, I really started to focus on gratitude, and that's what helped me is like, and addressing my own needs. And so those are things that I'm going to talk about in this series of like, how can I address my needs kind of with when he's working a lot, when he's not home, so that I'm happier and joyful, and I'm not just so dependent on him being there all the time and like making me happy. And I think in any marriage, we cannot depend on our spouse for everything to meet all of our needs. They're one person, right? And they're not going to be everything to us all the time. But when Rick is home, he has always been an active father. He's always like prioritized me and our relationship and our marriage in spending time with me. Like, I mean, he does work out for himself and sporadically will spend time with his friends. But typically on our days off together, we hang out together. It's just kind of assumed. And then even like on our evenings, our nights together, he doesn't really have like other hobbies, so we kind of spend time with each other. It's just kind of assumed, like we put the boys to bed and then we hang out with one another, and I think we just enjoy each other's company. We're actually like really simple. We just love to like Netflix and chill. We honestly loved that even before kids. Like I would say the other thing we used to do before kids more was like go out to brunch, and I love breakfast food and brunch. And it always worked out because I love breakfast food. Rick usually would sleep in from working swing shift, and then we'd go to brunch at like Mimi's Cafe or something. Oh my gosh. So I missed that life a little bit. It was lovely. And then sometimes we'll still do that with our boys. But I think what has changed is, for me, what matters a lot now is thinking about how we're in this for the life. Like we're in this for this life together, and it's gonna have ups and downs. And sometimes I'm gonna give more and sometimes he's gonna give more. And I'm not gonna like sit there and count that time, you know? Because for example, this weekend, this last couple weeks, we've been sick with this awful cold. I'm so excited that I finally feel like human today. My taste went away, it was awful. And Rick was sick too, so he was home a few days as well with us. And he was sick again on his own, right? So he's sick, I'm sick, the boys were sick, it was awful. But there was one day where we all had these fevers that would like spike, and then usually it would kind of, I think, help you get better. It was weird. But this one day I got a fever, I have 103. I took Tylenol, like it wouldn't go down, it was still 103. It was freaking me out. Like I thought, oh no, I'm gonna get like pneumonia or something. That just popped in my head. And then so Rick's like, go upstairs, go to bed early, I'll put the boys to bed. And I said, okay, because I knew like I need to prioritize myself right now so I can get better, right? But Rick was sick too. He wasn't quite as high fever as I was. We had like a low fever, and so did the boys that day. And then I think the next day or the 2 days later, Rick got a high fever himself, right? And then it was up to me to like tell him, you go to bed, you rest, and I'll take care of the boys. So we kind of traded, and it's not always so equal like that, right? Like the partnership in life isn't always so equal, but I do want to share that story because it shows that Rick was there for me, like when he could be, right? There are times when he's mandated to work or when he's at work and he works far away. So it is kind of hard for me sometimes to ask him in the middle of his shift to come home, because by the time he comes home, like he's got to go back to the station, change out, drive home. It could be an hour, hour and a half. So I remember there was one night, I don't get sick a lot, but this was a while ago, and I got like, I couldn't see straight and I was shaky. I don't know if it was like a migraine or what that caused this, but it was awful. And I was trying to get the boys to bed. So it was so close to their bedtime. I knew they're gonna be bed soon. Maybe it was a couple hours before bedtime, and so we're doing like dinner and baths, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm such a mess, I'm such a wreck. So I did tell him, and he came home, but of course, like he makes it home after bedtime. I was like, oh, but that's the reality of like being with our spouse with this chaotic schedule, is that sometimes they can't be there for us. But when they can, I do expect Rick to be there for me. And he is, right? Like I don't question that. I don't question his loyalty to me and to our marriage. And I think like in the long run, that's what matters. Like you guys are in this partnership together for life, and we have like plans, and some of it is just simple plans. Like we just want to live like this joyful, happy life every day and have a sustainable life where we're happy. We create this happy family and home for our boys to grow up in. We want them to grow up happy and successful, have their own family or career and everything someday. But right now their job is school and to enjoy activities after school and stuff like that. But I feel like we have the same goals, and that's what really matters, is that loyalty and that kind of like every day we're in this together, even though sometimes because of his career, he can't be there for me like another person could be. But the reality is everyone has a job they have to go to every day, mostly, right? Our spouses. And so even if they wasn't a cop, he would still have potentially another demanding job. And I talk with some of my girlfriends, and I don't want to give any names or anything, but sometimes they have told me like they feel like they can't ask their spouse for help with the kids. Like their husband isn't as active of a father that Rick is. So I'm just like so grateful that he's an active dad. You know, that means so much to me. My dad wasn't that active with us, and I don't really like to talk about that like a lot. I don't want to offend him, but I feel like he was more traditional, a little more hands-off than Rick is. And Rick's dad was really active, and so he grew up with that. He has a best friend who's like a who's a single father, who just got married again, but he was a single father for a while. He's super active with his girls. And so I think he's had these like people in his life to show him to be an active father. And that is so helpful because in the day-to-day, Rick is like, if he is home at night, he will do bath time, and usually I'm like cleaning up the kitchen and making lunches for the day. But when he isn't there, I have to do all of that. I have to help with bath time. Leonidas still needs help. And then I'm also like doing all the cooking, dishes, making lunches for the next day. And so it is so helpful for me, right? Because I can like in peace, like clean the kitchen and get things done without also worrying about the kids' needs because he's with them. And that's just amazing. And then also on the weekends or his days off, he will like hang out with the boys. He'll take them somewhere. If I'm like, I need to clean the house, I need to get stuff done, he's with them, you know, and I can kind of relax. And we've kind of always done that. Like I'll just let him know I need like an hour or two today to like get stuff done. And usually it's in the morning and he'll take them out somewhere or just kind of play with them downstairs. And that is so helpful. And I've heard that from another police wife that like they kind of had an agreement that on his days off or her husband's days off, he would take the boys for a couple hours and she could get cleaning done in the house. That's a partnership, right? Like we have this responsibility as a couple to like keep a home clean. We also need to take care of the kids. So he takes care of the kids, you clean, and that's a partnership. And I feel like I never want you guys to think that watch these videos that Rick isn't doing that stuff. And then the other comment about like, is he thanking you constantly? Like, no, not all the time, but Rick does acknowledge like my place in this family and that I do take on more with the boys. And he will say things like to me and to other people, like acknowledging what I do for the family. And I think that in return, I also acknowledge, you know, like everything that he does for us. Like he's such a good provider. And that was something that changed for me also after having kids, is I never knew like how much I needed that or wanted that. I always did like that in Rick. Like I always found that really attractive, that I knew he would provide for me if I couldn't work or something like that. But having kids and like going through this change in your body, and you're also, I felt this really deep connection to being a mom and like being with my boys. And so I also really just find joy in that. And it's hard for me to like kind of step away, especially when they were like really young. I feel like now they're 5 and 7. I'm still like that. Like Leonidas is still my little baby because he's my youngest, but I feel like I want to be that person that like gets up with them every morning and creates that stability in their life. And so I don't really mind it. Like I want to be there. And so that helps, as well as I don't really feel like, oh, I am the one doing that and Rick should be there doing it as well. So I hope that this really candid discussion on this helped you. I just hope that what you get from this is that I'm giving you advice, like I'm giving you kind of like my life experience, information about it in my place marriage, but I have always felt like Rick has been loyal to me and to our marriage. And so I hope that you have the same, you know, and it's okay to ask for things. I want you to know that too. That if he has a day off, let's say like sometimes on Rick's days off, he'll work out. And so that's his time. But then after he comes home, he's like, he'll hang out with the boys so that I can go work out upstairs or something. And so I feel like it's okay to know that you can do things for yourself too and to ask for that. There's been times, especially when our boys were really young, that I felt like I could not clean the house. Like it was so crazy, especially if I was like breastfeeding or something like that. So we would get like a housekeeper once a month, and it would just, oh my gosh, that was such a gift, like to myself, you know. But I take pride in cleaning the house. So like now that our boys are older, I can do it a little bit more. It is not perfectly clean all the time at all, but I feel like if you are feeling like everything is on you and you are doing too much, ask for help. Like talk to your husband or police boyfriend if you guys are still dating about like how maybe you can get help in the house or with the kids. Daycare was a huge one for us. We tried to juggle like our 2 careers and Maverick, and like all of us, either one of us always being with him when Maverick was born. And it was for the first year of his life, like it was crazy, chaotic. Neither of us were sleeping. And then we got daycare for him 3 days a week when he was 1. And it was like, why hadn't I done this before? Like it created such a good balance for me in my life. So Those are kinds of things that I want to talk with you guys about in my new coaching program. So if you're kind of struggling with this like ability to ask for help and finding routines that that you find joy in, and sometimes my days are still crazy, they're busy, but I think that whether or not Rick was home to help, it might still be crazy. Like, we just have a lot going on with 2 careers and our boys in school, and they do activities and stuff like that. If you are struggling with that, I want to help you to find a better balance in your life. And we are going to talk about routines. It's a big thing, sustainable routines in your life, and how to achieve that in the new coaching program. I'm starting in January, so I will link the information below. I am having a Black Friday sale, 30% off with code Black Friday if you register between the Friday before Black Friday and Black Friday. So check that out, you guys. Thank you so much for watching today. Definitely comment below if this was helpful, or you have any questions, or if you are kind of struggling with something that I haven't talked about. Let me know, because I would love to continue to help you and make these videos. I will see you next Monday. Have a great day.